Welcome once again. Seems almost ridiculous to say I am Karina and you are Denali, but here we are again.
Here we are at the beginning of each meeting, when people come and sit with me or Angie and I say welcome. And one day it just seemed absurd. It was like, welcome to what? Well, welcome who? Welcome. Who's the welcomer and who's getting welcomed and what are they being welcomed to? Like,
yeah.
Come to the well. Yeah, come to the well that's never ending. If you're not already in it, which is a big joke too, you're already in it. If you haven't noticed yet,
yes.
you haven't noticed yet that you're the well, then welcome. Come to the well.
Yes. And are you welcome? Yes. Yes.
What's coming up is the story of, I think it was a Jewish rabbi, an enlightened man, and someone came to him and said, in the Torah, it tells us to thank God for all the light and the dark. It tells us to rejoice in the good and the bad. It tells us to love the beauty and that which we might call evil. And he said, I don't understand how to do this. Can you help me? Can you help me to understand this part of the Torah, this part of this book? And he said, well, I would like you to go and ask, one of my students. He's down in the library, and his name is such and such, and so go down there and ask him this question. And so he goes to the library and he finds the guy. He's kind of buried in books, and he looks like a beggar. He's got like disheveled clothes on that are almost kind of like rags, and he's kind of emaciated. He's not been eating or taking care of himself very well because he's been in this he's been taken over by this search for enlightenment. And so he asked him the question, and he said, I don't know the answer to that because nothing bad's ever happened to me. So he sent him right to the source of the well. He sent him right to the one that was, fully in the spring, being the spring, that had never even discerned between good and bad.
Yes. A perspective of being that realizes all experience in a way that is simple. It seems so pure.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's that. And there comes a point in this, following these different streams, no matter what it is, or no matter what your spiritual orientation or even if you don't have one, whatever you're following, and it doesn't matter if you follow it forwards or backwards, right? It doesn't matter which way you follow it. You're going to come to the experience, to the realization that there's only one source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's only one source, and that source is good, and it's beautiful, and it's precious.
The good with no opposite.
Right.
It's
So,
interesting. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, so in living in that realization, there is no opposite. There is no, there's just something that you don't understand. It's not unloving. It's not unkind. There isn't differentiating. Everything is just what it is. It all has the same source, and it's all made of the same stuff. And it all has the same nature. It all has the same orientation. It all has the same. There's only one flow, and we're all in it. It's going this way, and whether you're in agreement with it, or whether you've even noticed, or whether you enjoy it or not, has nothing to do with it.
Whether you resist it, whether you, yeah, yeah. I remember when I was, talking about the well and the well source, I sort of had this very similar to the one source. Someone digs down, finds this pure well source, and then they kind of put a whole barricade around it, and then they call it Catholicism and say, this is the one pure source, come to this and you'll be saved, and all these great things, and that's that well source. And then someone else digs down and they've got their name on it, and this is the pure well source, you all need to come
Right.
here. What they don't realize is they're all tapping into the same underground stream or the same source,
Right.
coming up in different wells, in different locations, but it's all the same. So just a little add on to that one. But you have this
Yes.
the whole idea of a kind of, special club with special rituals that are involved with how you drink the water, how you take in the presence, how you experience it. It's all beautiful. And that's the power of this source. Is it doesn't really care whether or not the differentiation or name or way in which one is involved. And even if someone tries to, in the name of this well source, with a certain name, goes about to try to eradicate everyone else's wells and tries to destroy them all, and then claim that as the true well source.
Right.
Over time, there's a general realization as one expands one's realization of seeing the greater picture of all the different well sources, and the realization that.
Yeah. And earlier you were talking about, the vastness of the universe, the celestial realms, and that in its fullness, and it's then multidimensionally stacked upon or within each other. And often have people talk to me about astrology, or ask me when my birthday is or something, and they'll want to talk to me about those details, and you have kindness, you listen, and then when they're interested in that, what profound input that has onto your body and to your being, the, the response that comes up is, I'm much bigger than that.
Yeah, that scaffolding cannot hold. It's a framework that scaffolding kind of dissolves and melts when the expansion of the awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the source of those stars. I'm influencing them much more than they're influencing this body. by being the source and what they're made of and what they're passing through them. So it's all influencing and cooperating and radiating and permeating, passing through, flowing. And yet here we are, um, able to be completely silent and still in our mind and in our heart, holding, knowing that we are that awareness, we are that presence, which is this well that everything's sprung from, right? So um, maybe there is some influence, from Sagittarius, but it's so insignificant if you're holding the whole universe.
Yeah.
You thought you were going to die from a hangnail or something. It's just something to notice and take and allow. It's just part of the flow. It's not. And you were talking about the events, and this used to come up for me a lot. I would feel the equinox coming, or I would feel the alignment of the planets or something, and then I would go look, and it would be an affirmation. I would go look and see, oh, that's what's going to happen, and I felt it coming. And it's an endless series of events. It's never ending, so you can't hang your hat on any of it.
Exactly.
It's it's just a wave to surf, and if you're surfing waves, then they'll never end. It's an ever expanding, ever surfing, and that's the magic of it. That's the beauty of it. That's what makes life precious. Is you don't know, but you get to feel it. You get to have this intuition. You get to have this premonition. You get to have the sense organ. It's the most advanced instrument in the whole universe. This body that we've got. You're never going to get something that's more advanced or has more capacities or possibilities or capabilities than the thing you already are inhabiting, right? And we were talking about tuning it. You
Yes.
just tune this awareness to whatever you want. And what's so amazing at is that you don't have to block out anything else. All the radio stations can play at once.
That's beautiful. I was tuning in when you're talking about the wave, and I feel what is the impetus behind the wave. I was thinking about, okay, you can focus on the droplet of water or the droplet or the ocean, and both are interconnected. The ocean is so welcoming of each of the droplets, and the droplet, of course, has its moments of feeling like, oh, where am I going to go? I'm going to dissolve. I'm going to melt. What's going to happen to me? And there's all this ins and outs of consciousness happening at the same time. Yeah, there's so much behind the words. It seems almost impossible to. I think it's the feeling of the vibration of what gets communed in the communication, the communing quality in the communication, the harmonizing quality in the tuning of our voice and our capacity to really be in that presence, in the center, the awareness that we are. And I've often felt for this local kind of self, this birth date, birthplace, birth name, whatever, those kind of qualities, those particular frameworks can serve to a certain level, and they're supportive. They're like blueprints, so to speak. But again, blueprints can change, and ways of seeing, and the depth of our capacity to peer and to perceive. Perceive means to hold. Perception means to hold, and to hold onto something, to grasp. But consciousness is water, in its oceanic, in its presence. You try to lift up that and hold on to it in its pure form. And then there's the impetus behind that. There's the that which forms and informs and unforms. And it's an endless array of maybe it's like screens that come and open up, and there's just, we know that there's no words for
Well,
source.
and from that is what you're talking about, is all of that which is in motion, existence, right? And it ceases to be in motion. If the motion stops, then it goes out of existence, and then there's just stillness. There's just the shining one,
Like the 0 point, the
the
vacuum.
self
Yeah.
presence that we are. And so if you keep zooming in with a microscope, everything's moving. And what we want to do as human beings is we want to get it to stop. We want it to stop so we can get a good look at it, right? So we can describe it, so we can pin it down, and
Right.
it stops, it ceases to be, it disappears. So as soon as you could get it to stop, if you could slow it down enough or zoom in enough, it would cease to be, and you would be back to silence and stillness. So it's a never-ending experience that we I'm really not getting the right words here. We get to kind of play with the parameters of, like, limit ourselves in different ways, and nothing else can limit us. That's the realization that we all have. And if you follow any of these activities that we're talking about, if you're zooming in or zooming out, or just sitting still, following something to its source, or following it to its natural ending, where it will eventually disappear into silence. This can all be known, right? The words that we're speaking could be taken as knowledge, as data, as facts, or something that's true. You can feel the truth of it, but it is no substitute for knowing. And that knowing is alive in the moment. It's knowing about now. It's knowing about how to be now, how to respond now, what's most effective now, you just know yourself, and you know that experience that you're having, and it's just a full knowing. But it's not data, it's not dead, because it's motion, right? So that knowing is moving through time and space with your body, with your being, in this moment that is eternal, which only seemingly changes, right? Like the presence you're talking about, the presence is the same, the awareness is the same. And the knowing that you have when you're in contact with that awareness and that presence, is precious beyond belief. It's the most efficient, the most intelligent thing you'll ever encounter, and it's known with this body. This instrument,
this beautiful tuning fork, this receiver, transmitter, this whatever we want to bless this descriptive of. And there's something really interesting about the eternal now, and the realization of that eternal now is that really time and space rearrange itself around us to give us the illusion of movement but we are eternal, unbounded, made in the name and the nature of that which is. And in that vibratory field, it's out of this construct, in
Yeah.
its pure being, and different names to describe the actual experience. And again, all of these are words, limited but beautiful at the same time. And the truth is the the being, just the emanation of that. And I think we've all said just enough and not too much, except one more word, which is gnosis, which is it's a word that describes the eternal knowing, or the mystery that cannot be spoken,
Right.
but a deep knowing that is beyond our capacity to speak of.
Well, you can knowingly be it.
Yes, without being a know-it-all.
Yeah. Right. It's just, it doesn't take much investigation about anything in your world to come to the conclusion that everything that you've based all of all of your standards on, all of your reference points, they're false. Like I'm sitting in Colorado, you're in Toronto, we're on a globe, right? This thing's spinning and it goes around once a day. It's like 44,000 miles around. So it's going like thousands of miles an hour. But I'm going, sitting at Colorado, I'm going much faster than you are at Toronto because I'm closer to the equator, right? If you would march all the way up to the North Pole and you stood there, right? It would be like if you were sitting on a merry-go-round. But our experience is that it's flat, right? And this idea of flat has this idea of sea level, that the sea level is the same everywhere around the planet, right? But this planet, this globe that we're on, it bulges out in the middle because it's spinning so fast. So if you would march, if you could walk on water towards the equator, you'd be going uphill.
It's such a beautiful, wonderful illusion.
Right.
And I'm a beautiful, wonderful illusion too.
Right.
And so are you in your glorious, shining nature. But then there's just this being that shines through, that just melts my heart and soul in being when I witness and gaze at this wondrous nature, this glory, this beauty. And it's a beauty that's so aching in its nature, that it's oftentimes quite terrifying for most people to be in that presence.
It's terrifying to me that what I notice is that truth and beauty are the same. Mm-hmm. And something can be so beautiful that it's terrifying. It's when you come into contact with your true nature, with the truth of yourself, it's so beautiful that you want to look away. And a lot of people at that moment look away. And it's so beautiful, it's all consuming. So you can just relax and let it consume you. And then what remains will be the pure intent, the pure purpose, the pure destiny, the pure alignment of what you're here to do. And that's enjoyable, that's beautiful, that's enriching, it's precious. And it doesn't matter what it is. I just got a text from the easiest way would be to say a student, and it was just one sentence. And he said, today, he said, so when I let everything see in me and through me, I get to experience the holograph. I get to experience reality. So it's not about looking out there. It's about letting all of that see in and through. Well, thank you for showing up again tonight.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, and it's always fun and entertaining. It's all things.
Well, until we meet again. Don't know how, don't know when.
Yeah.
We have a date set, and it's beautiful. Thank you, Denali Norris. I'm Karina Shah, and thank you to those that are tuning in. It's really lovely to be able to be with you and see you peering in as we are peering in to this great, wondrous mystery. Okay, my dear,